Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Two of today's recipes are coming from my grandma's cookbook that I inherited, and then the other two are just from Pinterest. I'll be sure to link those ones below for you and type out my grandma's recipes below as well. But let's go ahead and try out these 4 brand new side dishes. First up today, we're making this slow cooker broccoli and cheese, and this recipe did come from my grandma's cookbook. I do not know if these were her recipes or if she got them from somewhere, but that's where I found this one. I'm adding 4 cups of frozen broccoli in with 1 can of cream of celery, half of a chopped yellow onion, a dash of Worcestershire sauce, and about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Next, I'm adding 1 cup of mild cheddar cheese, and I'm going to give this a really good mix together. After getting that all combined, next you're going to take about 20 crackers. I'm just using some Townhouse crackers. You could use Ritz, whatever you have available. I crush those up and I sprinkle them over the top. Next, I'm taking about 3 tablespoons of butter. I cut them into smaller pieces and I'm just laying that over the top. I added my lid and I set this on the low setting, and the recipe said to cook it for about 3 hours, but I only cooked it for 2 and my broccoli was perfect. I didn't want it to end up mushy, so this worked out great. Last thing you're going to do is over the top, you're going to add your other cup of cheese, add the lid back on for about 10-15 minutes and let that melt down. This recipe was really easy, and this is a really great idea if you're trying to make a lot of food for a lot of people. You can just kind of throw it in your crock pot and forget about it while you make everything else, but if you do overcook it, I don't think it would be quite as good. I really like this one. It kind of reminded me of broccoli casserole, but I would definitely make this again. Up next, we're making this delicious garlic butter tortellini. I found this recipe on Pinterest, so I'll be sure to link it below for you. The first thing I'm doing is getting a pot of water started for my tortellini, and then in the front burner here, I have a skillet that I'm adding 4 tablespoons of unsalted butter to. I'm just going to go ahead and let that melt. Once it's melted, I'm adding in a big tablespoon of minced garlic. I believe the recipe said to add 4 cloves of garlic. I just used 1 big tablespoon. I went ahead and let this garlic cook in the butter for about a minute until I could smell it really strong. And then the next thing I did was turn off the heat, and we're going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice, or half of a lemon. I didn't have an actual lemon, so I just used the juice. I just made sure this was mixed together really well. Like I said, I removed it from the heat, and then we're going to add some spices. The recipe didn't specify how much salt and pepper, so I just did a couple shakes of each, which was plenty for me. And then I also added some parsley just to add some color. If you've never had lemon in your pasta before, I actually tried it for the first time a couple months ago and fell in love with it. I love the flavor that it adds to a pasta dish. My husband is not a huge fan of it, but if you have never tried it, I would really encourage you to try it. It's so good. Once my water was boiling, I added in my 19-ounce bag of frozen tortellini and I let that cook through. After I drained it, I just brought it back over to the stove and added it right into our butter sauce. I just gave that a good mix to combine the garlic and butter with the tortellini, and then it was ready to eat. Here is my finished plate. I did just sprinkle some fresh grated Parmesan over the top and added a touch more parsley, but this is so delicious. I could eat the entire pan by myself. It's that good. Definitely saving this recipe for future use. It was so easy and quick to make, and then the fish you see on the plate will actually be in my April 2nd video. Up next, we're making this cream corn. I was really excited about this one because I love cream corn, but this recipe is a little rich, so just be aware of that. Into my pot, I'm adding a 10-ounce bag of frozen corn, 4 ounces of softened cream cheese, a 1/2 tablespoon of sugar, 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter, about a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, And then I gave that a mix together, and I just let this simmer on my stove for about 20 minutes to let everything completely melt through and cook together. After those 20 minutes, I went ahead and added the half and half. The written recipe says to use between 2 and 6 tablespoons, so I just started off with 2 tablespoons, and then I believe I added one more a little later. I also added a dash more salt and a tiny bit of pepper to finish off this recipe. Here is what my finished plate looked like. This cream corn is definitely creamy, but I think I prefer the one in the can. I don't know, this one was just a little rich for me. I could see how other people would like this, so if you're interested, definitely try it, but it was just a little too rich for me personally. Last but not least, we're making this Parmesan garlic and spinach orzo. I have just been on an orzo kick lately, so this recipe looked really good. I did find this one on Pinterest, so it will be linked below for you. Into my pot, I melted about a tablespoon of unsalted butter, and once it was melted, I added in about a tablespoon of minced garlic. I let this garlic cook for just a minute before adding in my chicken broth, and I am adding 2 cups of low sodium chicken broth, 1 cup of milk, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, a 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder, and then I'm just going to go ahead and mix that together. I believe the recipe called for an onion or green onion or something along those lines, and I didn't have it, so that is why I used the onion powder in place of that. Now that everything is combined, I'm adding 1 cup of dry orzo in here. I'm going to go ahead and mix that together and let this come to a boil over a medium heat. Once my orzo was boiling, I did mix it a couple times here and there just to make sure it was not sticking. I reduced the heat just a little bit and I let this finish cooking until most of the liquid had been absorbed. Next, I'm adding in a 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan and a 1/4 cup of spinach. My spinach was frozen. The original recipe called for 2 cups of fresh spinach. I only have frozen, so I just added a 1/4 cup. And then as far as the Parmesan goes, I had less in my pantry than I thought, so I just used a 1/4 cup, and honestly, it was the perfect amount for me in this recipe. This recipe was really good as well. It's very thick when it's all done, and I didn't even add all the Parmesan that it required for the original recipe, but me and my husband gobbled this up. He really enjoyed it as well, so that made me happy. Thanks for trying out these new recipes with me today. I hope you found one you'd like to try, and I will see you back here on Sunday with a new video.